Happy holidays, everybody! Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 20 books of 2020. I have some very good books to share with you, so hopefully you get some ideas of what to read in 2021 or to end this year with, because I'm hopefully going to have this up before December is over. So let's get started. So starting off the top 20 books, this is my number 20 book. It's Bird Box, and I was recommended to read this one, and I really enjoyed it, which I was surprised about because I watched the film on Netflix and I was not impressed, but I was told that this was way better than the film, which is often the case, luckily. And the book was really fast-paced. I read through it pretty quickly. It was very action-packed, but it also had a moral to the story. And the creatures in this were pretty creepy. So as I was reading it, I felt quite terrified by what I was reading. And it was just a really good way to start off 2020. I think I read this one around March, which was when the pandemic had just started, and it really kept my mind off of what was going on at the time. Anyways, this book is very good. I highly recommend it if you like horror, or if you like creature features, or if you just want a good old pandemic type, apocalyptic type story. This is your girl. My number 19 book is Station 11, which I was also very surprised with. This was another recommendation that I actually saw on someone else's booktube video, and it was a very good, very deep, and I love the message of it, which it touched on what is actually human and what is it like if you survive an apocalyptic event, and can you keep your humanity. And there were good guys, there were bad guys, and there were just people trying to survive. So I highly recommend this one. It really has a good message to it, and it's just a really deep read. Number 18 is Rebel, which is a part of the Legend series. You can see I got it for 20% off at Target. Come on, you know you like a deal. Anyways, it is Rebel. I was surprised by this one because I didn't know there was another book coming out in the Legend series universe, whatever you want to call it. This one kind of takes a step away from that story, but it still stays in the same kind of world and has the same characters, so you get to experience a little bit more of this world, which I really liked when I first read it many years ago, when I was first getting into young adult, particularly dystopian books. So I highly recommend this one, of course. I feel like it was a great end to this series. I don't know if they're making more, but I don't think so. But yeah, I feel like this is a good ending, and everything was tied with a beautiful little knot. Number 17 is a book that was on my list when all of the books were being recommended for Black Lives Matters and Black authored books, and so the one I put on my number 17 is I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. I just love this cover because you can flip it. So either way, it's a full cover and you can read what the title is and who the author is. But anyways, oh, and actually this was written by two people, from Kimberly Jones and Gilly Segal. Really enjoyed the fast-paced nature of it, what unfolds essentially over one night. in this chaotic world that these two characters are in, and both of them are very different from one another, but they band together to survive in the chaos that is their world. And in it, I think they build a friendship that should last forever. So I really enjoyed that about this book, that it's two females who have really nothing in common and have not really been friends. They come together and they fight their way through a crazy night and they come out friends. My number 16 book is The Voice in My Head, which is written by Donna L. Davis, and I found this book at Pasadena Loves YA. They had a spread of books from the authors that were there doing panels, and she was one of the authors. And when she talked about her book and where she came up with her idea, I was very moved and intrigued by the story and the genesis of where the story came from. So it's about these two twin sisters. One of them is terminally ill and she decides she wants to have an assisted death, but her sister does not want that. She starts hearing voices in her head claiming to be God, and God tells her to go on an adventure to Arizona, and so she convinces her sister and her family to do that. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it's a very heart-wrenching story. And number 15 is Unicorn Revenge, which I really loved the first book in the Unicorn Hunter series. This is book 2, so if you haven't, you should pick up book 1 first and then check this one out. It's such a unique story, and it does have unicorns and unicorn hunters, which is really cool. I think it's mostly, if not all, a female cast of characters, and they're all really strong and have different things that are good about them. And the main character in particular, she is very, very strong, and she is very independent, and she doesn't need someone to save her, which I love to see in a story, when a female character doesn't need anybody else to save her. And she is just a majestic character that I adore. Number 14 is such a beautiful book, and for many different reasons. That is The Lost City by Amanda Hocking. And The Lost City was a part of a series that I enjoyed many, many years ago. It is a part of the Trill world. This world has trolls in it, and the main character in this one is a half-blood, so she is only part troll. And the one thing that I really like about this one is the cover and who the character is being portrayed as, which, as I don't know if you can see that, but she is not your typical skinny mini type character. I really like her. She's fun, she is charismatic, she's strong, and she definitely knows what she is looking for. So you get to go on this journey with this character to discover who she is, who her parents are, where she comes from. Everything is kind of up in the air for her. She doesn't really know. So this is such a great adventurous story, and it really is one of those stories about finding yourself and discovering who you really are. So I highly recommend that you check this one out. My number 13 book is Daughters of Jubilation, which I just finished recently, and I really enjoyed this book. I love the cover so much. I think I've said that a million times, and I'm going to keep saying it because that cover is gorgeous. And this one is from Carolee Corthron. I think I'm saying that right. I just love this character. She is very complex. She has a lot going on. She has moments where she is kind of innocent, and moments where she is very strong-willed and kind of dangerous, because she has powers and she's trying to figure out how to control those powers. Kind of like historical fiction in a way, but it has a lot of fantasy elements and it is just really, really good, and I highly recommend it. You should definitely add it to your 2021 TBR or end your year off with an amazing book, because this one is super good. So my number 12 book is The Holoplaces, which I was sent as an art. And this one really impressed me. I read it around October time, so it was the perfect read for that time because it is a horror. My best way to explain it is Narnia mixed with horror, and it has very creepy creatures in it. It has amazing characters, which was the number one thing that I read in reviews, is that the characters make believable choices and choices that you're gonna agree with. So the outcome is actually a really good one, and you're going to be impressed with how they get through this crazy world of like parallel universes, creatures, danger. It's just an epic, epic horror read. It was on the Goodreads Awards. It didn't win, but it was a contender, and I wish it would have won because it was actually really good and I think it deserved it. My number 11 book is Deathless Divide, which is the second book in the Dread Nation series, and of course I really loved it because I love the Dread Nation world. This one takes place when the Civil War was happening and there was slavery, so it is a bit of a historical fiction in a way, but it has zombies. One kind of steers away from the main character in the original one, which was Jane, and it focuses more on Catherine, which I really liked because she got to have her moment to shine. And I think both characters are really strong for different reasons. And read Dread Nation first, obviously, if you haven't, and then read this one next. Both are very good. I prefer Dread Nation, but I have to say this one is more action-packed and a lot goes on in this one book, and it is just a beautiful story of strength and empowerment, so definitely pick this one up. Speaking of strong female characters, now I have my number 10 book, which is A Song Below Water, and this is such a short read, so if you want something to end the year with, this is a great one. It is so magical, fantastical. It has, once again, sisterhood. That was one of the main objectives of the story, is to tell about these sisters and their struggle to hide what they are, which they are sirens. Just really love the story. It's such a beautiful story of sisterhood and just overall empowerment, and I highly, highly recommend this one if you like that kind of thing. So end your 2020 with such a fantastical read. My number 9 book is, no shocker, it is Crave, which I am going to be reading Crush, the second book, very soon. I was kindly sent this one from NBC Books and Tracy Wolf, and I was very excited to get it. I didn't know what to expect because I heard that it was like Twilight, but it is not like Twilight, I have to tell you. It is very much its own story, and the female character, she is very strong, and she might start off needing someone to save her, but she ends up being the savior to everybody, and she is just a beautiful character that evolves throughout the story, and it's a pretty thick story. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot of fantasy elements, which I was surprised about. So there's not just vampires, that's another thing, and there's not just werewolves, there's not just witches, there's other characters that you are going to enjoy. It's a beautiful book. So my number 8 book is Children of Virtue and Vengeance, which is the second book in the Children of Blood and Bone series, and I just love the world building that Tomi does and the characters that she has built. They have evolved over these 2 books, and I can't wait for book number 3, which I hope is going to be coming out soon, because I really loved where the story is going, and I love the female empowerment, and I love that the women in the story are so strong, and I think that's something that I keep repeating because I just love stories of female empowerment. And also I love the magical system. It's something so unique and different. My number 7 book is Always Human, which was sent to me as an advanced reader's copy, so you will see it's not in color. I have to get the finished copy because I love this book so much. Didn't think that a graphic novel would be on this list, but it is, so I highly recommend that you check this one out. It is such a beautiful story, such a beautiful romance. This is about two girls that fall in love, and that's the female characters right on the cover. They are so totally different from one another. And in this world, it's a kind of like a low sci-fi type of world in a very near future. They are able to change themselves and make themselves more beautiful or more perfect, and one of the characters is unable to do that because she has a, I think it's autoimmune disorder, some sort of disorder that keeps her from being able to do that, because if she does, she could get really sick, and so she has her natural beauty still, and the other character admires that. So they fall in love and live happily ever after. No, I'm not going to tell you what the end is, but it's such a beautiful love story, and I just love that it's a graphic novel, and now I'm excited to get into graphic novels, which I've never been excited about before, and I can't wait to pick up more in 2021. This has definitely started something. Okay, we're getting closer to the number 1 book, and this next one is no shocker because what would a list for me be without a Cassandra Clare book? And that book is Chain of Gold, which I absolutely adored. It reminded me of Infernal Devices and brought me back to that era of Victorian London. It was just absolutely stunning. I could picture myself being there as I was reading. That is something that her books often do. They basically pull you into the world that these characters are in, and you can just imagine everything around them. She's so good at doing that, and I just love her characters. She has such an array of characters. She has gay characters, she has female characters, she has all kinds of characters, which makes me so happy. And this one is such a beautiful story. It actually is now my number 2 favorite series from her. My first, of course, is Infernal Devices, and now The Last Hours is my second favorite. My number 5 book is Margaret Atwood's The Testaments, which I was so excited about because I love The Handmaid's Tale, and I love the book, I love the series, I love everything. I was kind of scared about this one because I didn't know where it was going to go, but it had a lot to do with timing. I enjoyed the empowering features in this. It's a very female-driven book. It is told in 3 different perspectives. Each of them is a woman, and they all have different ties and connections to the previous story. Book number 4, Agnes at the End of the World. I just read this one recently as well, and I adore this cover. Like, it is just haunting and beautiful at the same time. But not only do I love this cover, I love the story. If you don't know, it has the main character, Agnes. She's living in a cult, and the cult believes that essentially they're going to be safe from the apocalypse once it happens. What she doesn't know is what is actually happening in the world outside of where she lives at, which is an actual apocalypse, but it's not how she has been told. And so once she escapes, she discovers many things. Most of all, she discovers herself. I highly recommend this one. It has such a great story, and it's really, really terrifying in a way, but it's also very interesting and intriguing. So this book I just finished very, very recently, and that is Cinderella is Dead. How do I explain this book? It is just amazing. It really redeemed the story of Cinderella for me, and it's such a fresh take on that story. It has very strong female characters, which I feel like Cinderella was lacking, and that is one reason why I never enjoyed that story growing up. But I love this one, and I love the main character. I love the supporting characters. The story is just so beautifully done, and I highly commend Kaylin for writing such a beautiful take on Cinderella and giving it such a realistic twist. Ending to this one, I love the whole story. It's such a beautiful one. Highly recommend it. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. My number 2 book really talks about a subject that is timely and also very important. That is La Bizona, which, first of all, look at that cover. And I need to get the finished copy of this. This was sent to me as an advanced reader edition. I love this cover. It's just beautiful. The second cover is even more gorgeous. I can't wait for that book to come out. But let's talk about La Bizona for a second. This one was written by Romina Garber, who is one of my favorite authors. She is an auto-buy author for me. And on the front it says undocumented, unprotected, unafraid, which sums this book up so well. But what you need to know is that the main character is a Labazon. This is taking place in Argentinian folklore. So in Argentinian folklore there are creatures called Labazons, and I don't want to give too much away because it's really a complicated, complex story that if I say anything, it's going to give it away. But I will tell you that the main character is undocumented, living in Miami, Florida, and some things happen to her where she has to go on the run and hide from many different people, which is so adventurous and exciting. And I think that if you need something that's going to get your mind off of the current status of our world, this is definitely it. Okay, so my number 1 book is probably going to be surprising. I don't think anybody else has put it on their top list, and I don't know why, but I really enjoyed this one, and hopefully you will too. It is How We Became Wicked, and this cover I'm surprisingly in love with. I usually don't like purple covers. This one, I love the metallic effect to it. I love that it basically tells the story just on the cover. Just letting you know. It has a mosquito, which is the carrier of the plague in this world, and it has 2 separate worlds basically. These people, they live in what they think is safety, and these people live on an island, and some people are actually immune to the plague and have been bitten and survived and were immune. And these other people want to get their blood so that they can create a cure. But yeah, it's much more complicated than that. And the people that are infected that are not immune become really terrifying. So if you want something that is really going to make you think, and something that's really complex and scary and terrifying and realistic, then this is definitely the book for you. It takes place in a world that is not very far-fetched, and it's just very scary. So that was my top 20 of 2020, and hopefully there are some books on there that you haven't read and that you are now excited to be reading. I think all of them are amazing, but you know, everybody has their different opinions and tastes in books. I hope everyone has a great holiday season. Stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy reading, and hopefully you find some great books. Hopefully you are gifted some amazing books. Until next time, happy holidays, everybody! Bye!